5. So, how have you all been? This is the second time we are meeting for Sunday Live at 5, and this week we talked about different things. Of course, we talked about different things. One of them was our auxiliary verbs, like verbs of different kinds, and we also talked about determiners. So we know that determiners are articles a and they, and we know how the pronunciations happen for the and the, and a and an are basically indefinite, and the or the is definite. A stands before the words which start with a consonant and the consonant sound, not a consonant letter, a consonant sound. And an is used before the words which start with a vowel sound. Now the a and an and the or the, these articles are used only before a noun. Yes, articles are used only before a noun. The verb and other things, they cannot use articles. So if there is anyone who wants to talk about these, please. And determiner is actually a short form of determinative, and we uh, abbreviate it as det, det. Also, ordinal numbers, cardinal numbers, possessives, demonstratives, and interrogatives are also determiner. I'm not talking about all, but yes, these classes of words can also be used as determiners. Next comes verbs. We know that verbs are basically two types: finite verbs and non-finite verbs. Now, in finite verbs, we see verbs of action and verbs of being. Verbs of being are the verbs which denote uh, state of being, state of becoming, and different forms of be and become, or different forms of be and become are state of being verb. And verbs of action, the verbs which denote some work. Now, verbs of action are two types: transitive and intransitive, and they are classified based on which type of verb affects or which does not affect. So, if you remember that because of action, because of the action that is carried out by the verb, there can be an affected party, and uh, based on type of what type of effect the party is getting, the, we call it object. And based on the effect on the party, we have direct objects and indirect objects. If because of the work, uh, because of the action of the verb, some person or something is getting directly affected, then that is a direct object, and indirectly affected, then indirect object. For example, please bring a cup of coffee for me. So here the action is bring, and here there are two affected parties, coffee and me. The coffee is being brought to me. So the action is directly falling on coffee, and then it is falling on me. So coffee would be direct object and me is indirect object. That is how these types of verbs which have some objects, they are transitive verbs, and intransitive verbs, they do not need object to fulfill its meaning. For example, the light was shining. The light was shining. We don't need, the light is the subject here, the noun. Shining is the verb, and we do not really need an object for this, right? And hence, the light was shining. That's just there, right? We do not need an object to fulfill its proper meaning. Now, we have auxiliary verbs. Auxiliary verbs are also called helping verbs. And why they are called so? They are called helping verbs because they help the main verb to realize uh, the tense and time and number. If the number of the subject, which is a noun, is a singular or plural. In case of its singular, the uh, uh, auxiliary verb would be realized in a different way, and if it is plural, the auxiliary verb would be realized in a different way. So that is how auxiliary verbs can help. Now, auxiliary verbs are main auxiliary verbs are be, different forms of be, have, and do. Be, am, is, are, was, were. Have, has, had, do, did, done. So these are main auxiliary verbs. Now there is another type of auxiliary verbs which are called modal verbs. Modal verbs are the auxiliary that help in understanding the mood of the action. More about it would come in the next session, in the next video, which would be uploaded in a while. In that, I have discussed modals in at length. So whoever has any question, you can please write down your questions in the comments below, and we will take it up and we will discuss it in the next session. Now we also have, we know that transitive and intransitive verbs, which are transitive verbs and intransitive verbs. Now it's very interesting type of verb is linking verb. We know linking verb is also called copular verb because in a very formal linguistic setting, and it linking verb is very interesting because it connects the subject, which is a noun or a pronoun, to other nouns or pronouns or adjectives in the whole sentence. But it also can connect the subject with the uh, prepositions and other sorts of verbs which are in the infinitive form. We know infinitives are a form of non-finite verbs because they do not really turn, and non-finite verbs are the kind of verbs which do not need any uh, help, which do not really take help of time and tense to realize it's, they just express wish. So that is non-finite verb, and linking verb helps the subject to connect with other nouns and pronouns, adjective, and other verbs in infinitive form. Only when the verbs are in infinitive form, then only linking verb can act as a bridge. Otherwise, linking verbs do not have any action with any finite verb. For example, um, he is in the kitchen. He is in the kitchen. Now, there might be a question because is a form of be verb, and we know that different forms of be verb is also an auxiliary verb. So, what is the difference between an auxiliary verb and a linking verb? Of course, their actions are different, but also uh, if we see especially the use of be verb, how they are used in an auxiliary and how they are used in a linking verb format. Uh, the light is shining. So here, when we say shining, it means there is the light is shining at present, right? The light is shining at present. So here is which is a form of be verb, is helping us to understand that this is the way this be verb is helping us to understand the shining of the light at present. So here the auxiliary verb be is sitting with the main verb shine. Now, I became fat by eating lots of chocolates. Now here became is another form of the become verb, and become is a very big part of auxiliaries and also stative verbs, right? The state verbs of being, which is a very big part of transitive verb. No, sorry, not transitive verb, finite verbs. Now here, what did I become? I became fat. So here I and fat, this become is linking the two ideas, and hence this become is not a auxiliary verb, it is a linking verb. Now we know that we can use the verbs of action into different styles, regular and irregularly, and regularly, irregular and irregular, based on how we use them in participles and continuous present participle and past participle form. Sorry, in base, past, and participle. Present form of a action verb, main verb, is also called base form, and to make it past we use d or ed, and to make it past participle we use ed or en. Now the word past participle, the past participle is a part of the participles, and participles is another form of non-finite verbs. So in non-finite verbs we have infinitives and participles, and participles are present participles, past participles, present participles ing, and past participles have ed or en. Just because their names are present participle and past participle, that doesn't mean they are used in present and only in present tense and past tense. They can be used across tenses. It's just that these are the nomenclature, these are the names. So that is how we make verb forms. Verb forms are base form, past form, and past participle form. These are, for example, dance, danced, danced, sing, sang, sung, talk, talked, talked, play, played, played, see, saw, seen, all these. Now, here we can see that some follow the rule EDD, EN, but some do not follow the rule. Those who follow the rules, they are regulars, and those who do not, they are irregulars. Again, I explained the difference is because which origin they come from. English is a Germanic language, but this language has influence of all the languages all over Europe, and sometimes of some influences of some Nordic languages also. So that is how different words, different verbs came and assimilated in English, and that is how we have different forms of verbs. Those who follow the regular rules, they are regular verbs, and those who do not follow any rules, they realize, depending upon their own idiosyncrasies, they are irregular verbs. Now, infinitives and gerunds both uh, infinitives adds a prepositions. Like infinitive we use to. I want to go, I want to dance, I want to play, So infinitives are a big part of non-finite verbs because infinitive says it's my wish to do it, but I'm not saying when or how many. So infinitives are not affected by time, tense, or number, all these. Now, gerunds. Gerunds use ing after the verb form. But here, and also we know that present participle also uses ing after the noun form. Let's take examples with two sentences. Swimming is a good hobby. I love swimming. So here, swimming swimming is a good hobby. So here we see that we are using swimming as a noun. Okay, now let's see. I love swimming. Here, is it a present participle or a gerund? It's a gerund because it is used as a noun. Because I love swimming. I can say I love tea, I love coffee, right? So here, swimming is used as a noun, and hence those verb with ending ing is used as a noun, then those are gerunds. And present participle, she is singing. So here, sing has ing form, and here singing is the participle present participle form of the verb sing, and this is used after an auxiliary verb, and hence the singing is used as a finite verb. So this is very interesting how this present participle can turn verbs into finite verbs, finite action verbs, right? So I think that's the whole thing. We have covered whatever we really learned this week. So write down your questions in the comment sections below. If you have any question, you know how to reach, you can email or you can write your questions in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe. Till then, take care. Bye bye.